The fallen leaves tell a story of how a tarnished became Elden Lord. In our home, across the fog, the lands between. Our seed will look back upon us and recall the reviled curse that defined our age. The blessing of despair.
What is going on, Technicrew? My name is Billy the Skwid, and I think it's time we talk about Fextralife and the curse it has brought upon the Souls community. A curse that is slowly spreading, by the way, wrapping its tendrils of misinformation and empty article pages around any popular RPG to hit the shelves for the sole reason of making that sweet, sweet money. Fextralife's problems run wide, from minor gripes with the wiki itself to the monopoly it has on the Soulsborne and RPG wiki sphere, and lastly, on what has become the entire focus of Fextralife as an organization: legal viewbotting. I know about 90% of people won't care about this stuff, and that's fine. At the end of the day, the Fextralife wiki will still be used and be helpful for the majority that go to it. I also believe that the current state of Fextralife was not its original intent, as most wikis start and remain passion projects. That being said, I want to look at the 3 stages Fextralife went through to get where they are today: creation, monopolization, and monetization. Let's get into it. Wikis are nothing new to gaming. A modern replacement for the strategy guides, wikis are where players can go to find helpful information on how to defeat a challenging boss, find a secret location, and in a lot of cases connect with other gamers who have a similar interest or passion for those games. Community is actually the driving factor of most wiki pages. After the mods have filled in the pages, all updates and edits are mainly done by the game's community. This isn't just the Wild West though, as most wikis have a dedicated mod team that removes everything from troll edits to just factually wrong information, all with the goal of making the most helpful resource available for those games. I say most wikis because Fextralife isn't most wikis. Starting at the base level, the information it has is passable. Over time, items, locations, bosses, and enemy names, quest info, and more are fleshed out into a usable wiki. The site has been around since about 2013 and started out as a Dark Souls wiki primarily, and upon the release of Dark Souls 2 would start a wiki for it as well, and would begin gaining steam with Google search trends when Bloodborne released around 2015. Before this boom, Wikidot was often seen as the superior wiki, and was supported through Google search trends as such, mainly because the information on Wikidot tended to be more accurate and better upkept through patches. This wasn't necessarily the fault of Fextralife though. It would make sense that the more popular wiki would have better community support, although Fextralife's moderation, even at the start, wasn't the best. Wikidot also had a more minimalistic layout, which was easier to traverse and preferred by many users, either for the ease of use or the aesthetics. With the release of Bloodborne, Fextralife upped its SEO game and started disregarding ethics and bringing us to part 2, Monopolization. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and Fextralife went all in on SEO, using it to become the top result whenever anything Bloodborne or the other Souls games was searched through any means necessary. They did this by rushing through the game and creating pages for anything and everything, whether the information they had on it was accurate or not, or if they even had information on those items or not. Items had in-game names and pictures that could be pulled, and as long as the page existed, the community would fill in the data for them. Bosses likewise had names visible, and JPEGs could easily be made. Where the water muddied, though, was when it came to basic enemies, as well as more obscure items, NPCs, and quest lines. Instead of waiting around for factual information like what Wikidot and other wiki sites would do, Fextralife flooded its site with placeholder pages. These pages would have a picture of the enemy, item, or NPC, and a made-up name if the game didn't expressly give it one, and either a string of question marks where stats should be, weaknesses, or any other relevant information would be, or a generic placeholder message such as enemy drops go here, quest step 1 goes here, and so on. This at surface level seemed harmless and is obviously good for traffic flow on Fextralife's end. Being the first one out always has its advantages, but there is a reason other wikis did not go this route. Firstly, wikis, while being community run, are typically held with a high regard for accuracy, especially in the earlier days. Initial postings are made by the wiki moderator teams, and the info is often then vetted properly before a page is created for an item or an enemy. That way, the community has the best info to build the page off of. It's better for the wiki user's experience overall to find nothing at all than to come to a page that could potentially be full of misinformation that could be taken as fact, especially in the early weeks of a game's release, when a wiki traffic is going to be at its highest. Unfortunately, being the first to the scene is more important than accuracy for Fextralife. It's also worth noting that around this time it is believed that Fextralife began taking the pay-to-win approach by buying Google ad space to show up first in the search results on Google. This, in tandem with the massive rollout of empty but searchable pages, or pages with inaccuracies, made sure that competing wikis such as Wikidot or Fandom Wiki would be left dealing with trickle-down page traffic. Even if the Fextralife page wasn't up to date or accurate, it existed, and being forced into users' faces meant that they were at least exposed to Fextralife as a site and would increase the likelihood of those people returning. Because of all this, other sites just could not compete. With slower page rollouts attempting to focus on accuracy over volume, the Bloodborne era and soon to follow the 2016 Dark Souls 3 era would mark the end for Wikidot. Wikidot would have a page for Sekiro, but that page just routed all of its traffic over to the Fandom Wiki page. And while Fandom is our only alternative right now, it is rarely updated in a timely manner, if at all. With its newfound front page supremacy, you would hope that Fextralife pages would become more hyper-aware of accuracy for its info. You would be wrong. Don't get me wrong, for the basic to intermediate info, Fextralife as a wiki is fine. You'll find item locations, drops, NPC locations, and more pretty much no problem. It's when you get down to brass tacks, looking for specifics such as weapon numbers, boss info, guides, and other statistics, that the cracks start to show. Most data on these wikis does not keep up with the patch cycle of the games, so if you are looking for patch-specific numbers for PvP purposes, for example, you may be misled. Compounding on these inaccuracies, for Fextralife, it was more important to get the pages made for everything than it was to go back and retroactively fix the flaws or inaccuracies that they created. The Bloodborne wiki is the perfect example of this, with links still to this day using wrong made-up names for enemies. I don't know if they assumed that the community will clean up their messes, but for the inaccuracies to exist in the first place, in a space that is supposed to be objective and fact-based, is bad enough. And the lack of fact-based information on the pages is another point of issue. The page requests that editors keep the wiki's voice neutral, but the majority of the info that bloats these pages are play-by-plays of first-hand fight experiences instead of typical fact-based tips. Instead of helpful info like weak to lightning, attack the head for bonus damage, look for openings after this specific attack, to dodge this difficult move do this, they would rather type out a play-by-play of their YouTube video telling you arbitrary or just flat-out wrong information. Using this Madeir fight as a reference, their advice shown in the video is to attack the legs and the tail, standing in the tail for the best place to stay safe and get hits in, and that if Madeir jumps up and does this flame attack, good luck. We don't know how to dodge it.
If he does his flying flame breath attack, the only way I found to avoid it was to get under him. And since that isn't always possible, having high fire resist or a fire shield can help save you here. I found the best way is to stand directly or inside his tail and swing, as it seems to prevent the most misses.
There is no mention of weaknesses to lightning, no mention of immunity to status effects, and it isn't until the very tail end of this video, in a passing comment, that they mention that the head takes increased damage. Once again, it seems like they are so rushed to get the videos out and made that they refuse to even try to make a decent guides. Speaking of their videos, during their Bloodborne and Sekiro era and into Dark Souls 3, they started playing around with embedding their YouTube videos into their wiki pages. This would take the form of guide videos like the Madeir fight we just mentioned on relevant pages, and on their sidebar along with the page ads would be whatever compilation vid that they were advertising at the time, such as top RPGs for 2019. Me, myself, I don't have any problem with Fextralife using their wikis to advertise other content that they make. Outside of it bloating the pages more, causing both PC and especially mobile versions of the wiki to bog down on load, this kind of move it makes sense, and having the videos embedded makes it easier so that if somebody does click the video, they still get the view for the YouTube algorithm. And the person doesn't even have to leave the wiki, increasing wiki retention. Lastly, they had started to expand the brand in several different ways. Fextralife moved past being From Software exclusive and began building videos and wikis on other games such as Divinity Original Sin 2, Monster Hunter World, and more. Just like with the Souls games, they reign supreme in the Google search algorithm. Search for a wiki on any of these games and Fextralife will always be front and center. This notoriety allowed them to move into the gaming journalism space, where speed and clickability is valued above accuracy. Having the wiki, being a journalist site, as well as content creation on YouTube and Twitch, allowed them early access to many games, further solidifying themselves as one of the first spots to build both wiki and YouTube videos. Something that other services, and definitely other wiki pages, just could not compete with. And this was the way things were up until the start of the year 2019, the year Fextralife entered its endgame. But before we get to that, can we just take a moment to look at how funny these comment sections are? A bunch of anonymous accounts posting whatever they want into the Fextralife void. The amount of copy pastas, edgelording, and cringe in these threads is honestly astounding and way more entertaining than some of the games that they're even talking about. And some of these pages put Pornhub comment sections to shame. And the biggest shame is the lack of potential. What could have been a really useful tool for people to actually converse about whatever the page is about, in every instance is hijacked by shitpost after shitpost. And where are the mods? You can't have a community comment section on a wiki allow for anonymous accounts to comment and not moderate. I guess the alternative would be for them to make it so that only registered accounts can comment, but then these sections would just look sad and empty. Also, oddly enough, I feel like some of these comments have gotten pulled into the main articles as well. Stuff like this false trivia stating that Miyazaki's foot fetish had to be tapered down for the Millennia boss fight so that Western audiences wouldn't make fun of him, going as far to say that he reluctantly changed it. Once again, volume over quantity, the Fextralife mantra, and yet another reason I have trouble taking them seriously at all. But now, for the final act. Monetization. In 2019, Fextralife went all in on making as much money as possible from as many sources as possible. YouTube was already a source that they had tapped into, and with their videos covering most pages of the wiki, this combined with the ads on the wiki pages had been their primary revenue stream. But at the start of this year, the revenue stream would start targeting streaming as their primary source of income in a less than ethical way through the embed feature. With a wiki containing several games worth of info and hundreds of pages of those games individually that is being forced to the top of Google, wiki viewers were the biggest untapped resource on the internet, baby! And trust me, they tried tapping into this resource. But even with posting as many videos on the wiki as you could, you still had to depend on someone clicking on them, and this was not profitable enough. So, using that sidebar embed we talked about earlier, they swapped the YouTube videos out for Twitch. If you visit any page of their wiki, you will see their offline stream embed. When live, the stream autoplays to every single page on their wiki, whether the game that they are streaming is relevant or not to the page that you're even on. And the wildest thing about this is Twitch counts these as views. The reason for this is the esports scene, as most esports have pages that they will embed their Twitch streams on during competitions. But Fextralife isn't an esports company, yet they are benefiting from this feature better than anybody else. And the proof is in the statistics. On TwitchTracker.com, in the last 30 days, Fextralife currently sits around the 50th to 60th most popular streamer range. The same range as Shroud, Lyric, and Pokimane. That's some pretty high company. Let's see how the rest of their stats look in comparison. Firstly, let's take a look at their total views. In the last 30 days, Fextralife has a absolutely astounding 2,000 million plus, or 2 billion, total views, dwarfing the next highest page, which is Riot Games, a little known indie dev, sitting at around 1,000 million plus, or 1 billion total views. As far as the non-corporate creators go, Ninja, Shroud, XQC, Summit 1G, and Lyric all round out the top 10 at around 500 million total views in a 30-day period. You would think with this disproportionate influx of viewers, Fextralife would be the fastest growing channel on Twitch. But that's where things go sour. For new followers gained, Fextralife is actually one of only 2 streaming channels in the top 150 channels on Twitch to have a negative follower count. While most channels of this prestige are gaining around 300,000 new followers in a 30-day period, Fextralife has lost about 7,000 this month. In fact, Fextralife this month is losing about an average of 60 followers an hour. But the data gets weirder. Somehow, through all of this, they are still consistently pumping out 20,000 viewer averages on their live streams. That's a lot of people watching their streams supposedly, so I decided to check out their sub count as well, and they're only sitting at around 400 total subs. Compare this to Shroud, who is just above them in the total rankings, who has an average of 5,000 subs, and Pokimane, who is just below them, who is sitting at around 4,000 subs. Lastly, if my words aren't good enough for you, here are a few snips from Devin Nash, an agent in the content creation industry.
So Shroud here, our man, is sitting at 160,000 viewers. It's a pretty impressive number. We've got this other group called Fextralife that's here at 81,000. And then the next down is 26.8K viewers. What is Fextralife? Well, Fextralife is a website that supports guide content, YouTube content about games. It's just info about games. Okay, so like Wiki, basically. Think about it like as a wiki for games. So here we are on fxtralife.com. Well, that's weird. There's an embed of the exact same stream we just watched. So what's happening here is this embed is on this website being embedded right here, and it's counting as a view, a live view right now of the Fextralife logged in users versus actual users. So running this right now, we see there's 63,222 people that are actually logged in, and 6 moderators and 1 person. Let's go back to the Twitch stream, and we'll see that there are currently 81,035 viewers. So if we subtract the number of logged in users, we get 17,813 people that are unaccounted for. These are not real people. They're people that bounced off the website and hit this embed and then got counted as a view.
The reason this is such a glaring issue, and the reason why they do this, is to put themselves in the top 5 of whatever game that they're playing. Twitch is a kingmaker system, and it is well known that most viewers in the game category funnel to the top 5 to 10 streamer pages. That's why, if you haven't noticed, if you ever go into a game category, there is a huge viewer gap between the top 5 to 10 streamers and everybody else below them. With Fextralife basically having 10 to 20,000 people on the stream at all times through the embed on their wikis, they easily tap into whatever game category they play, and this is just funneling more traffic to their channel. And while this might not be helping out their sub goals that much, they're still getting that sweet ad revenue off of anybody that's watching, and there's always the potential for new followers. And being able to top a kingmaker system becomes increasingly more valuable to them whenever a new game comes out. And the most interesting thing about this is the games that they are playing during these spikes aren't even covered in their wikis. They had an initial spike during the Red Dead 2 launch, followed by their first big spike during Sekiro. Interestingly, their growth stagnated up until Valorant's launch, proving that with the legal viewbotting, they can prosper completely out of topping pages and not by any commitment or prior attachment to these games through the wiki. Back 4 Blood, New Worlds, through the betas and the full release, Lost Ark, and most recently, Elden Ring capped their growth history. And this just proves the embeds work. And now any release that they are interested in, they can analyze the field, see if the embeds bring them up within the top of the category, and then prosper, cheating the system in every way. Now you can always pause the stream, but every time you go to a new page, it's back up and going, and it quickly becomes a battle of attrition that only a machine can win. And this is assuming that the page is loaded at all, because on mobile during Fextralife streams, depending on your internet connection and whatever device you're on, it could be nearly impossible for these pages to load properly with the stream playing, videos loading, and whatever ads are on the page. And the only way that I've found to circumvent this is to pay money to Fextralife for VIP. A service that for $3 a month, you too can use a functional wiki, not bogged down by useless bullshit. For real though, VIP removes all ads and all embeds from the site, as well as allowing you to have the full screen Elden Ring map. By the way, there's a better site for that map. So yeah, you're going to pay Fextralife one way or the other, and I can understand this argument to a point. Fextralife isn't free to keep up, ads keep the lights on, but at what point as a business do you greenlight exploiting your audience through Twitch embeds for further gain, not only cheating the wiki viewers for a smoother wiki experience, free from slow loading pages or irrelevant content being shoved in their face, or even worse, spoiler content like what they did when they were streaming Elden Ring during Elden Ring's launch, and the embed just auto-played, forcing anybody coming to the wikis to potentially have bosses, areas, weapons, or more spoiled. But you're also cheating the Twitch infrastructure as a whole. Now, I hate complaining at length without giving a proper solution, but given the current space of wikis and gaming wikis and all that stuff, there really isn't one. The fandom wiki is the only alternative, and it pains me to say that its upkeep isn't quick enough to compete. Honestly, I primarily use Reddit boards for the majority of my questions, as most posts there are by people that are actually passionate about the games and have done some pretty extensive research themselves, and they stay more up to date. But with Reddit, your results may vary. But thank you for listening. This has been my analysis on the anomaly known as Fextralife. As I stated at the beginning of this video, I don't expect most people to actually care that much about what Fextralife is doing on their wiki, nor do I expect this video to actually stop people from going to the wiki altogether. It's kind of like Walmart in that sense, where you're going to end up there one way or another based on convenience or necessity, rather than actually wanting to go there. I just find the whole situation extremely interesting, both on the wiki space and on the Twitch space, and I hope you all did too. If you found this entertaining or informative, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing a lot of Elden Ring and Souls-like content moving forward. But until next time, much love, Tentacrew. Bye-bye.